Good evening, and thank you so much for that kind introduction, Willie. Really sets the stage. Thank you to the esteemed colleagues seated behind me, the exceptional men and women who have held this office of the AMA President with honor and distinction. Physician leaders from every state, and of course my personal guests who have joined me on this stage. Each and every one of you have played an indispensable role in my leadership and coming here tonight. To all of you, it is a pleasure to speak to you tonight. As you heard, I've attended 72 consecutive House of Delegates. So that's 36 inaugurations. I gotta say, this is my favorite, at least so far. Over those years, I've witnessed amazing physician leaders stand at this podium and take that oath. What a rare and precious honor it is for me to stand among these remarkable leaders, many of whom are on this stage tonight, and take that oath. At my very first AMA meeting, Stormy Johnson was speaker. He became my role model and my friend. Years later, I was lucky enough to share the podium with two amazing women, Sue Bailey and Lisa Egbert, as my speaker and eventually my vice speaker and now speaker of the American Medical Association. Both of them worked to make me a better leader, and I thank you both. Sue, Lisa. One of those who is not on this stage this evening is Donald Palmisano. You might have noticed that there was a chair left empty for him in the row of former presidents. Donald was my mentor when I was on the board as a young physician. He probably wondered what he ever did to deserve that punishment. We actually became close friends. He used to call me the young grasshopper, taken from the movie Karate Kid. I later learned that that was an honor to be called that. I know that Donald is here with me tonight in spirit, as he always promised that he would be at my inauguration. You see, Donald always believed, frankly, even more than me, that someday I would take that oath. He learned from his father, a beat cop in New Orleans, the advice that he shared with me and many of you. Do your homework, have courage, and never give up. I was listening, Donald. I want to recognize his widow, Robin, who has honored us by being present with us tonight. Thank you, Robin. Thank you for Donald. Thank you also to my family and dear friends who have joined me here this evening. It means so much more to celebrate this special moment with all of you. Pat, thank you for asking for God's blessing to watch over me and walk with me on this journey. I could not do it without God. Thank you, Pat. I would not be here this evening without the support of the Kentucky Medical Association. I'm sure it was Greg Cooper's nominating speeches that pushed me over the finish line to become vice speaker, and then eventually president of the whole dang AMA, as Greg would say. Thank you to the Southeast leadership and the Southeast delegation, the Otolaryngology Section Council, and the Texas Medical Association, and of course, the Ghost Caucus. You may be ghosts to some, but you will always be great friends to me. Thank you all. Thank you also to my partners from Kentucky Ear, Nose, and Throat, who are here both past and present with us tonight. I was fortunate to join two outstanding surgeons after my fellowship, and I'm still with that practice today. I've gone from being the new guy with all the ideas to being the senior partner. I think that's a nice way of saying the old dude. One of my original partners, Dr. Silk, and three of my current partners, Dr. Sievertson, Higgins, and Miller, are with me tonight. Thank you guys for always supporting me and covering for me back in Louisville so I could do this important work here. Thank you. I know I only stand here on this stage tonight because of the love and support of so many people, many of whom are here and others in spirit. And I am humbled and grateful, and I am ready. As I look out at the faces of so many fellow physicians, I'm reminded of the enormity of the decision that we made when we chose this profession and our ability to change lives. I'm reminded of the passion we share for this joy we call medicine. I am in awe of the trust that our patients place in us to help them and to heal them. And I am eternally grateful for the way my life was changed by a doctor. My brother John and I enjoyed building and flying model airplanes as kids. One Saturday afternoon, when I was about 12 years old, we were working in the garage of our family home on one of those planes. We needed something that was up high in the rafters, so I climbed up a ladder and was reaching above my head to grab what we needed when the ladder slipped, and I fell. And I grabbed for something, anything, that would stop my fall. And sure enough, what I caught was a large metal hook with various tools hanging on it. It went straight through my hand. There I was, in pain and shock, bleeding down my arm. My mother heard my brother's screams and came running. Later, Mom told me that she almost fainted when she saw the hook through my hand. My parents got me to the nearest emergency department, hook in hand, with a spark plug wrench and other tools still hanging from it. After an examination by the general surgeon, the doctor pulled my parents to the other side of the curtain separating the exam bays. You guys all know the curtains I'm talking about. The doctor told my parents just outside the curtain that I would need surgery and that I was unlikely to ever regain normal use of my hand, and I would probably lose at least 2 fingers. Let me tell you, those curtains are not as soundproof as we doctors think. I heard every single word, and I can tell you not only me, but my parents were horrified. But they were not deterred. You see, they believed in the power of physicians to heal. And they were determined to find a doctor who could help me. They took me immediately to Jewish Hospital, the home of one of the premier surgery fellowship programs in the country. And one of their lead surgeons, Dr. Joseph Kutz, operated on my hand that same day. He removed the hook, tools and all. And Dr. Kutz that day saved my hand, saved my fingers, and although I didn't know it at the time, put me on the path that led to tonight. I am a surgeon using this hand because of a doctor. You know, growing up in a small house in Louisville, Kentucky with my parents and 3 sisters and 2 brothers, shall we say there were sometimes a few challenges, not the least of which was the one bathroom we shared. Neither of my parents had the opportunity to go to college, but they both believed that education was the pathway to success. They worked hard and they sacrificed so my siblings and I could all go to the best schools, and they always pushed us to excel. It is in large part because of my parents that all of us are successful today. I want to thank my brothers and sisters, all of whom are with me here tonight, for setting the positive example that you set for me growing up. Thank you, brothers and sisters. As the youngest boy in a large Catholic family, I knew growing up that there were only 2 professions that would make my mom most proud: doctor or priest. And I think Mom realized pretty early on that that priest thing was not happening. My mom is a remarkable woman. Faith and family have always been at the center of her life. She hates it when I tell people her age, but at 96, she should be bragging. Still as sharp as a tack. I'll admit that sometimes when I can't remember something, I call Mom, and she fills in all the details. She's sitting in the front row tonight with us this evening. Mom, it means the world to me that you are here tonight. Thank you. I got to be honest, my sister told me that Mom told her that I browbeat her into coming tonight. But Mom, I think now you're glad you came. My father, even at home, was always working. He might have been repairing something around the house, tinkering in the garage, working in the yard. And as soon as we were all old enough, he involved us in all his projects. He taught me that every job is important. Every role has an impact, no matter what job it is. And not only because the task that you perform, but the standard you set when performing the task. My dad passed away in 2011. He was an example that work did not stop until a task was done and it was done right. In his own way, my father actually made a medicinal product. Of course, in Kentucky, I'm talking about bourbon. He worked his entire life at a distillery, and yet he never drank. So much for like father, like son. But I know that Dad is looking down tonight, smiling and proud. Thank you, Dad, for everything that you did for our entire family and for me and the values you instilled in us. Now, I know it may be hard to believe, but I was not the most athletically inclined kid growing up. And when teams were chosen, I was usually the last one remaining. And I would often hear, "You can have Bruce." Well, I found a different way to excel: rhetoric and debate. You see, my trophies had little people standing behind podiums instead of people holding baseball bats or basketballs. But it was okay. I was said to have the gift of gab. My brother John reminded me the other day that my attempts at rhetoric with the neighborhood bullies often resulted in him getting in fights to protect his little brother. But that gift of gab earned me a debate scholarship to Vanderbilt University, where I honed my powers of persuasion. The best and most life-changing thing I took away from Vanderbilt was not my degree, but the love of my life, Christy. We met as freshmen when we were 17, and we dated all through college. And finally, after my second year of medical school, I convinced her to marry me. You see, that power of persuasion paid off. Many of you know Christy. She is definitely my better half, my sounding board, my editor, critic, travel agent, and fashion advisor. She is my partner in everything I do. She is my best friend. She is the mother, a wonderful mother to my children, Preston, Stephanie, and Ian, and Mimi to our two beautiful granddaughters, and the best spouse anyone could ever wish for. We actually celebrated our 39th anniversary last week in Nashville, where we met. Sounds kind of romantic, but I got to admit, I was there on an AMA assignment, and I convinced her to go with me. Thank you, Christy, for your love, and thank you for us. Thank you all. All of us who are involved in this AMA know we can't do this without the support of our spouses and our family, and each of us should thank them as often as we possibly can. Preston, Stephanie, Ian, you're each so unique and wonderful in your own ways that your mom and I still wonder somehow you all came from the same gene pool. You all are intelligent, hardworking, driven, and most importantly, great human beings. As parents, we hope that our children find life partners who share their values, who love them and make them happy. Catherine, Kyle, Paige, the three of you are beyond what we could have ever hoped for. We are so blessed to have you as part of our family. By the way, some of you know that Christy grew up in Louisiana. So I've made arrangements for a nod to her past at the end of our celebration and ceremony tonight to get our celebration going. So you've heard how I got here. Now let me tell you why I'm here. I am passionate about practicing medicine. I am proud of our profession. What physicians do every day has the incredible power to change lives for the better. I'm proof of that. But as a practicing physician, I can only impact one person at a time. The AMA does for physicians and our patients what we as individual physicians cannot do. At my first AMA meeting, I saw the power that physicians could have when we come together as a unified body. All these years later, I still believe that the AMA can and does make a difference for our patients and our profession. We are committed to protecting the patient-physician relationship, standing up for science and ethical practice of medicine, pushing back against reckless scope expansion, fighting for fair payment, and supporting thriving practices, pressing for relief of the administrative burdens so that physicians can focus our attention on what matters most, our patients. The AMA is the physician's powerful ally in Congress, the state capitals, the courtroom, the boardroom, and the exam room. The policies we discuss and debate here are my daily working reality. I became a physician to take care of patients, and we all know that that's getting tougher every day. Our healthcare system should help doctors provide good care, not get in the way. Physicians are struggling. 2 decades of spiraling Medicare payment cuts and an ever-increasing administrative burden. These concerns are no longer theoretical. Almost 2/3 of physicians show signs of burnout. 1/3 plan to reduce their hours, and 1 in 5 are hoping to be able to stop practice or retire within the next 2 years. Physicians are literally closing their doors. We cannot afford to lose even one more doctor. It's time for us to fight. As a physician in an independent private practice, I live our issues every day. I see my colleagues struggling. I feel the urgency of the moment, and I will bring that urgency to my presidency. You better believe I'm ready to fight for you, fight for us, fight for our profession, fight for our patients. More than at any other time I can remember, the AMA matters. When the battles are difficult and victory seems far away or impossible to reach, it's important for us all to remember our why. It's important to remember what brought us here, why we fight in the first place. Not long ago, I was in the daily grind of my clinical practice, seeing patients and dealing with the administrative hassles that we all face. And on the schedule, I saw the name of a patient who I operated on years before. I remember Raymond distinctly. I had performed a relatively rare voice-sparing laryngeal cancer surgery on him. You see, Raymond was diagnosed with cancer as a young man, and he always used to bring his cute little girl with him to the appointments. She enjoyed the lollipops, not necessarily the appointments. And he had done well after his surgery and had been cancer-free for over the 5 years of usual follow-up appointments. So when I saw his name on the schedule, I feared the worst. A late recurrence, a new cancer. I walked in the room, greeted by Raymond, and he said, "Dr. Scott, I had to come see you. I wanted you to know that I walked my daughter down the aisle last Saturday, and I gave the toast for all to hear." My daughter remembers you, and I will never forget you. You saved my life. You saved my voice. Needless to say, that was a special moment. The grind of my practice was no more. My spirits were lifted. My passion for medicine was renewed. Now, I've been blessed over the years to receive many kind notes from patients and words of appreciation. And as much as my patients say that I've helped them, it's their words and their gratitude that are my greatest rewards. This is why we fight. They are why we fight. I remember the look on the face of a man and his spouse when I told them that the tumor was benign and that we were able to spare his facial nerve, anticipating a full recovery. In that moment, I am reminded of our power to heal. When I recall the smile on the teenage boy's face, who looked in the mirror as I removed the splint from his previously twisted nose, and he was able to breathe through his nose for the first time that he can remember, I am reminded of our power to restore. When a woman told me that the repair of her facial fractures and reconstruction of the scars gave her the confidence to leave an abusive relationship, restoring not only her beauty, but her dignity, I am reminded of our power to change lives. But perhaps most remarkable was the woman who frankly had little to offer, who as she left the office turned and said, "Thank you for listening. Bless you and all the doctors for what you do." In that moment, and in each of these times, I'm reminded of our power of caring and compassion. I extend my patients' gratitude to all of the physicians in this room. Thank you for what you do. Years after my hand surgery, I returned to Jewish Hospital, this time not as a patient, but as an otolaryngologist, and eventually chief of surgery. One day, I saw my surgeon, Dr. Kutz, in the physician's lounge. I showed him my hand, and I thanked him. Now, he said he remembered the young boy with the hook in through his hand and all the tools still hanging on it. But after thousands of surgeries, I suspect he was just being nice. But it didn't matter. He was my doctor. He changed my life. And in so many ways, he made this night possible. Each of us is shaped by the experiences in our past. But on this night, inauguration night, we look forward to the possibilities of tomorrow. Our future is not the one we wish for, but the one we will fight for together. We are not defined anymore by what divides us, but by what unites us. We are bound together by the professional oath that we've all taken. We are all together in this great profession, and we must stand together as physicians tonight and going forward. I am honored to be your president, and I look forward to that future. Now let's go get to work. Thank you very much.
Please remain seated until those on the stage have left the room.
Well, let's get this celebration started, Louisiana style.